Good morning. Any burning questions after meeting His Holiness? Any questions? No questions?
Yeah, so my question is that Dalai Lama said that he feels compassion and he doesn't feel rage at all when it comes to China. So do you think that rage is necessary? Because it is one of the emotions and it is useful sometimes as a survival instinct.
Yeah, rage is necessary for ordinary people who don't want to get enlightened. And who wants to act as we ordinarily do, compelled by ignorance. Because actually the reality is, the more you develop hatred to others, you are giving more opportunity to that person to control you. That's the thing. When you get angry, you develop hatred, you are thinking you are responding very strongly, but you are becoming weak and giving the other person to control you. Okay? Any other burning questions? Okay, then, okay, yeah.
Geshe, what is the true meaning of a mandala? How do we understand a proper mandala?
Mandala.
Yes.
Mandala, we call it mandal, but Hindi it's called mandal, Sanskrit, which means extracting the essence. Extracting the essence both of the subjective mind and also of the ultimate reality. Okay? And how do you extract it, the essence? Especially in the tantric sense. In the tantric sense, the word tantra, mantra, tantra, tan means continuity, tra means to protect. Mantra means mind, tra means to protect. So tantra is for protecting your mind or your mental continuity. How the tantric practice protects your mind? The tantric practice protects your mind because ordinarily we have this habit of seeing everything, with their faults. We are very good in highlighting the shortcomings and faults, especially of other people, not of oneself, but other people. We are not very good in appreciating the qualities that others have. Isne ye kiya, usne wo kiya, things like that. So that's why you are not able to protect yourself. So in the tantric practice, you try to see everything, it is in pure form. Now mandala, the external mandala, you have this residence mandala, which is pure palace of a celestial being. Then the resident deity is also pure beings. So when you come into contact with this pure mansion and pure palace, you don't develop attachment. You don't develop anger. You develop attachment and anger when you see the limitations, when you exaggerate things. But when you see the things as it is, you don't develop these negative emotions. So that's how you get yourself protected. So therefore, even if you are not a tantric practitioner, what is desirable is that you should highlight the good things of others, not the bad things of others. You can be cognizant of their bad things, but don't keep on focusing on those bad things, right? And in your own case also, you keep on highlighting the bad part, not the good part. Right? So it's important to empower that good part that is there in you and see the good things in others. And you will see what you want to see. Normally, that's the case. You will see what you want to see. Now, what we are doing is, you should not see what you want to see, but you should see what you should be seeing. We never make progress because we keep on hearing what we want to hear. We keep on seeing what we want to see, not what we should be hearing, should be seeing. Right? Therefore, you remain as you are. Taraki nahi ho raha hai. So therefore, it is important to see the things as they are, not as what you want to see. That's why we have this beautiful English phrase called "beauty lies in the eye of the beholder." It's not necessary that the object is beautiful. Your mind exaggerates it and sees somebody as attractive, beautiful, and it does the job to some extent. Right? Hai na? Okay? So taking the essence means you develop this very subtle mind, which is a very blissful mind, and use that when you engage in tantric practice, you go deeper and deeper, dissolve all the grosser levels of the mind, and then finally make manifestation of the luminous cognitive swaprabha, as we say in Hindi. We awake that. And then use this very powerful penetrative mind to realize shunyata. It is this way you extract the essence. Hai na? Okay, yeah?
And Geshe-la, I also have had been this, how do we understand the relative truth and absolute truth in a more simple...
Yeah, relative truth means the truth that you see all around. You are sitting there listening to me, I am speaking, there are different colors here, AC is functioning, people are videographing. This is a conventional truth, worldly truth. The problem is we get stuck with this conventional truth. We don't want to go beyond. That's why we get stuck in the samsara. So what the teaching is saying is, these are only ways and means. Don't get stuck there. These are for your temporary purposes, not for your long-lasting happiness. So don't get stuck there. Transcend it. How do you transcend it? You transcend from the bondage of this conventional truth by seeing the ultimate truth. When you see the ultimate truth, then you don't see, हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, samvriti satya and param artha satya. When you see the ultimate truth, then samvriti satya में कोई मजा नहीं है फिर. If I use a very simple word. Ordinarily, we enjoy the conventional truth. I want to, hear something, smell something, touch something, You see me, we get lost into these sensual objects. That's why not only we are not able to get nirvana or enlightenment, but we are also not able to solve any of the worldly problems. Right? And then you develop this very strong feeling of a discrete I, which you think is unrelated to any other person. Right? And you are not able to make good connection. But when you see the ultimate reality, you see the sameness of everybody. That at the end of the day, there's nothing that is long-lasting, concrete, absolute, intrinsic, independent existence. Everything is like a dream. Right now also we are kind of dreaming, in one sense. So don't get stuck with the dream. Wake up. And you wake up when you see the ultimate truth, ultimate reality. And when you wake up and see the ultimate truth, कुछ खोने के लिए नहीं है, कुछ पाने के लिए नहीं है. There's nothing to lose, nothing to gain, which you'll read in the wisdom chapter of Shantideva. When he speaks about the eight worldly concerns, he says, when you realize that ultimate truth or shunyata, there is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. In conventional truth, ordinary world, बहुत कुछ है ना खोने के लिए, बहुत कुछ है ना पाने के लिए. There's so much that we can lose, so much we can gain, and we just get entrapped in this cycle of trying to get something, make sure that it is not lost. है ना? The Buddha said, and Milarepa said, I am very happy, I have nothing. See, in our case, I am not happy because ye bhi nahi hai, wo bhi nahi, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have the updated iPhone 14. है ना? भूखा है ना, भूखा है, hungry all the time. That's why we have a lot of problems. Once Buddha was crossing a river, he held his hand on a branch, then immediately he released it. Oh, I am grasping. Even from such experiences he was learning. You see? So when you grasp, hold on to something, you are thinking you got it, but actually you are tying your neck to that. फंस जाता है वहीं, है ना? Okay? Yeah. Don't worry about the text, okay? The text you can read. I can also go through quickly, no problem. But I have been telling people, Buddhism must make sense in today's world. है ना? पहुंचना है निर्वाण, बुद्धता. शुरुआत कहाँ से करना है? यहीं से. Aim is to achieve nirvana, liberation, enlightenment, but start has to be made here. Therefore, Buddhism must make sense in today's world. है ना?
Very good morning, Geshe. I have a very practical question which is related to myself. So on the first day, and even yesterday, we talked a lot about anger. So I rarely get angry. Somehow when I get angry, I
you
meditate.
destroy many things.
I meditate and somehow take breath and somehow I can tackle it. But in once in a while,
Yeah.
like certain situation, where the anger is so spontaneous.
Yes.
There's no even a split second
Yes.
where you can really think.
True.
So how would you advise to tackle such situation?
Because all these negative emotions, they have a distant cause and immediate cause. Because you have this distant cause which you are not aware, the imprint is there. How many of you can understand what I am saying? How many Tibetans? You can understand. But this verse I don't think you understand. Meaning we have not removed negative emotions. You never. Object is there. Object towards which you develop negative emotions is always there. All kinds of objects are surrounding you, wherever you go. You can't go around having closed your eye all the time, having blocked your ear all the time. है ना? दरवाजा खिड़की सब खुला है. And when, so that object is there, object of attachment, anger is there all the time. Then the improper way of mind engagement is also there. Wrong ways of looking at things is also there. So you have all the causes for the afflictive emotions to rise. So therefore it is primarily that distant cause of many negative emotions, including anger, which is lying hidden with you, that when it encounters an external environment, it gets activated. So therefore, with this experience, you need to ensure that the immediate causes are also not developed, and the long-term causes should also be tackled by developing counter forces. But the most important thing is to be practical and see whatever be the cause, distant or immediate, what was your experience by getting that anger? Was it comfortable, nice? If it is very useful, very comfortable, then get angry all the time. Nobody can stop it. We should be fair with anger also. Once I was requested to give a half-day talk to a group of Iranians. I think around 70 of them, mostly CEOs. I never met them. I know nobody, somebody must have suggested. So I give a talk to them. Then after that, as usual, we had this question-answer session. Then there was one gentleman who got up and said, Geshe, your talk was very good, but I am very angry man. And as soon as somebody irritates me, I just punch him right on the face. I'm very volatile, angry man. So what would you say? I said, continue. Continue. Then you will learn. If you, by teaching, by receiving instructions from others, if you don't understand, then you continuously do it. It actually, there are many cases of people thinking that they can do everything, and then one day they meet the right person. Then they realize their mistake, you see. There is one story happened in Tibet. There was one person who was very, very hot-tempered, angry. There are certain places where people kind of appreciate or people encourage angry people, saying brave person. It's good. Parents also say it's good that we have produced children who are not coward but who are courageous, angry, who can fight and who can challenge. So there was this very angry young man. He would almost every day pick up fight with somebody and would always say, yeah, I punched him. I hate him, whatever. And then his parents said, no, be careful. And then his parents said, be careful. Very soon you will also meet another person, Amepu. That means one who is really the son of the mother. You will meet the real son of mother, who will also beat you and hurt you, may even kill you. But he would not listen. Again he would pick up fight and then would say, again today I met somebody, so I hit him, punched him. So it is impossible to find a real mother-son. So one day he met somebody, they fought, and then the other person knifed him, and his all internal organs came out. So all the internal organs in his hand, he came, said, today I met a real mother-son. That's the thing, If you go, as I said on the first day, if you go against the law of nature, you can never, however, you think you are clever, you can never do this. Somehow you will be caught and you will suffer. Okay? Yeah.
Good morning, Geshe. I actually have two questions to ask. This is kind of a personal question. So the first question is selfishness is a bad trait? Like putting yourself first, giving priority to your needs, is it a bad thing? Like the dilemma is that if you won't think about yourself, then who else is going to do that for you? And the second question is, Buddhism itself preaches the concept of others first.
Yes.
So actually, I actually wanted to help others. At the same time, I actually don't want to compromise my needs also.
Yeah.
So how can we balance this concept? Like both this, I actually wanted to do my things at the same time.
Yeah, this
others also. So how this both will go hand in hand?
This has been answered by His Holiness many times. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, if you want to be selfish, be wisely selfish. Be wisely selfish means thinking just about oneself and ignoring others is the stupid way of being selfish. Even if you have very strong concern for your well-being, the wise way of being selfish is helping others. That also not with the wrong motivation, okay, if I help others, I'll get this. But that help, you have to help genuinely without any concern to yourself, whether you're going to get anything back or not, you have to do that. But the result, this does not mean you will not get the result. And I don't know whether I told you this. Once I had this privilege of attending a meeting at the outskirts of, I mentioned this, right? New York. Outskirts of New York with His Holiness. there was a presentation by a scientist with his data saying that those who make lot of self-references, I, me and mine, get all kind of problems, illnesses, including heart attack. I think I mentioned this. Yes, so this is it. Because when that's why countries who say, we want to be the first, stupid. You don't have to say it, do it and become first. And those who say that, they don't do. They're only fooling their own people. You see? Recently there had been some countries who are saying, Mujhe aage aana hai. Bekoof hai. This is stupid. If you want to become first, don't talk about it. Just do the work. You will shine out. Okay? Yeah?
Shudilai, I have two questions. The first one is, shall a person who is treated inhumane give primary importance to relate?
A person who is?
Treated inhumane. Treated inhumane. Less humane.
Acha, treated inhumane by others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should put his primary objective, the relative truth or the absolute truth. Can the absolute truth liberate him from the sufferings of the material world? And the second one is that, is an underprivileged community trying to accumulate capital a grasping?
No. Transcending conventional truth does not mean conventional truth is useless. Without going through the conventional truth, there is no way to reach ultimate truth. Conventional truth is the means, ultimate truth is what you get through that means. Right? So without that self-grasping, you can work hard to get what you want, material development, whatever. So that's why the classes of the society who are, at a lower strata, right? The best way of their upliftment is by making initiatives, by working. So therefore conventional truth in that sense is very, very important. I cannot say I want ultimate truth, not conventional truth. Food is conventional truth, I am not going to eat it. That's stupid. That's stupid. We are especially talking about ultimate truth to remove the very root of suffering, ignorance. But in our ordinary way of life, we are not going so deep like that. We are at least talking about getting some happiness, relatively better happiness, removing some kind of suffering. We are doing that. So that is okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I have a question regarding the Guru Shishya Parampara. Like it is often said that when you are practicing spirituality, and there's always a need of a guru to teach you and guide you. But since we are, in my case, we are young girls, unmarried, we cannot go and find people. And there's such a strong question on us, like, where do we find the guru? Who is our guru? Is it the holy text, or it will be a real person in some time who will guide us to ascend towards rising in spirituality?
Now so many types of gurus are easily available online. And people even call Google Baba as their guru.
So who's the real one?
So the point I'm making is, your search for guru is really like you're searching for a husband. When you search for a husband, शक्ल सूरत देख करके तुरंत तू छलांग मार के थोड़ी शादी करेगा, है ना? When you are looking for a husband, you will not jump into somebody because his face looks nice or he is from rich family and immediately just like a hungry dog looking for a lump of meat. You would not jump like that. You will push-tach करेंगे आप. You will ask questions, the background of the family, the qualifications of the family. I mean, these days, unfortunately, they mostly ask about wealth, which is stupid. The reliability of the person, so many things. Then only after that, still you will not marry quickly. You may keep in contact with that person, spend some time and see. Then if you really think, even there sometimes you make mistake, but at least there is much better chances of finding a good husband, So similarly with all these teachers also, This is a very good question. I'm glad that you asked this question. Because as I said, most of us are ignorant basically. We are gullible. We are ordinary people. We are simple-minded people. Hena. So therefore, when that's why I already spoke about the 4 reliances. Right? So when you are looking for a teacher also, don't jump because somebody is famous. If somebody, I'm not jealous of those people who are famous, but what I'm saying this is, if it is a person like His Holiness Dalai Lama, then he is not only famous, but he has proved there is a reliable teacher. He's now 87 years old, okay, still teaching tirelessly. He's proved. So therefore, you can accept him as your teacher. Your guru doesn't have to sit with you all the time. Your guru is not your husband, not your wife. Doesn't have to be. Yes, it is important to be close to that person as much as possible to get that real knowledge, real experience. So that's one thing. Second, those of you who are looking for a Buddhist guru, okay, His Holiness, I would recommend His Holiness. And which you may not be able to meet very often, that is okay. Actually, there is a saying which says, the Guru's blessing is greater from a distance. And in human relation, it is like that. In human relation also, don't go too close, don't stay too far away. Your relation with other human beings should be like your relation with, with the fire, especially in winter. In terms of your relation with the fire, because it's very cold, then if you say, oh, I want heat, and then touch the fire, it will burn you. Go too close, it will burn you. But if you stay too far away, it will not give you the warmth. So similarly, in human relations, be it guru, be it whoever, maintain some distance. Because we are all vulnerable, we all have these weaknesses, you know. We all get crazy, right? Then you may end up doing many stupid things. So it's important to keep the distance, number one. Number two, there are so many self-proclaimed gurus these days, business gurus, right? So they are also marketing. They are also making money, which is not true in accordance with the spirit of the Buddha's teaching. According to the Buddhist teaching, it says you should not give teaching if it is not requested. आजकल तो रिक्वेस्ट चाहिए नहीं, बोलता मैं बोलूँगा, मैं सब जानता है. क्या फ़र्क है फिर बिजनेस वाले इसमें गुरु में क्या फ़र्क है? But among them also there may be some who genuinely want to help others, because of that they are doing, but not many. है ना? So don't run after all the so-called sadhus or gurus. The real guru, you should take time, find out. Meanwhile, your guru should be inside yourself. The capacity to analyze things, that is your guru. The compassion that you develop, that is your guru. Therefore, we talk about two gurus, inner guru and external guru. And if you look at this word, Sanskrit word, guru, is a combination of two words, gu-ru. Gu means ignorance. Ru is remover. So guru is somebody who removes your ignorance. So now you can see how many gurus are there who will remove your ignorance. Not many, not many. So therefore take time. Don't rush after everything. बोलते हैं गुरु ने ये चमत्कार दिया, वो चमत्कार कुछ नहीं. चमत्कार आपका जो inner, if you reduce your negative emotions, then there will be चमत्कार. वैसे कुछ नहीं चमत्कार. ठीक है? Yeah.
Geshe. So my question is, why is distraction considered as a negative emotion? I mean, the 20 secondary afflictions.
Yeah.
Because conventionally I can understand that when you are distracted, you will suffer, or it's also about being restless. But when you are all the time involved in studies, isn't it important that your mind also wanders for some time, and isn't it a kind of neutral thing?
The distraction arises normally because of attachment. When you are studying, you are not able to focus because your mind is thinking about your girlfriend. Attachment है ना ये. So normally you are distracted on many, stupid things, which will promote your negative emotions.
Isn't it sometimes quite creative as well? When you are like all the time concentrated?
No, distracted means by distraction you cannot be creative. You are simply lost. You cannot be creative when you are lost.
I mean, I'm using in the sense of mind wandering.
Yeah, mind wandering or distraction, same.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, creativity, sometimes when you venture out, that's different thing. When you venture out, then you get new ideas, new inspirations. That's different thing. Yeah. Okay.
Tashidile, I wanted to follow up the question in the previous discussion. So I was wondering if there is any subjectivity in the absolute reality at all, and also since you mentioned about the discrete I or self, so I was just wondering. I mean, I've always wondered what is self then, and also to follow up Kapish last question, that if there is no self, then how can we even talk about free
Very
will?
good, very good, very good. So now this is very important. You are touching the heart of the teaching, asking ultimate truth. You are asking about ultimate truth. That's why I'm not worried about reading the text, you know. Now listen carefully with your ears raised. थोड़ा खींच के करके. Things exist, right? Things exist. Do you agree? Things exist. Agree? When things exist, there are only two ways of existence, only two possibilities. One, dependent existence. Second, independent existence. Two possibilities. There is no third possibility. Make it very clear. Make it very clear. Things exist. When things exist, there are only two possibilities. Either they exist dependently or exist independently. Now tell me which one is true. Dependently or independently? हाँ? क्या आवाज इतना धीमी क्यों हो गया? थोड़ा जोर से. नाश्ता नहीं मिला क्या? हाँ? Dependently, everything. Both not possible. Both not possible because dependent existence, independent existence, they are mutually exclusive. Cannot be both. Has to be one. Right? So let us presume that you are all in agreement saying that things exist independently, right? So when we say things exist dependently, then we are saying things exist. So self also exists. We are not saying self is not there. ठीक हो गया ना? You exist dependently. You नाश्ता खा के अब exist कर रहा है ना? You exist on many things, depend on many things, then you exist. So things exist. We are not saying things don't exist. If you say things don't exist, then you fall into nihilism. कुछ भी नहीं है. एक बार वार्तालाप हो रहा था. There was a dialectical discussion between two scholars. One person said there's no I, no I, no I, no I, and he was not listening to any of the logic and reasoning. Then he came with a needle and pricked the person. Then the person, yes, I'm here. You see, this is a common sense thing. You are there. So things exist. Therefore, when we say no self, we use the word no self. We are not saying things don't exist. Things exist. Therefore, when we say self or any other thing do not have independent existence, because they have dependent existence. Anything that has a dependent existence cannot have independent existence. Right? Right. So, emptiness means empty of independent existence. Absolutely, you got it. शून्यता का ज्ञान प्राप्त हो गया आपको. So easy. So emptiness means not nothingness, not vacuity. Emptiness means empty of independent existence. So emptiness and dependent existence are two sides of the same coin. This side dependent existence, therefore this side there is no independent existence, empty of independent existence. एक ही सिक्के का दो face. Clear? Empty of independent existence. That's called emptiness. इतना तो पता चल गया ना. It has become a fashion. Many people, the teachers also say, oh, concept of emptiness is so difficult. And the students also always say, oh, emptiness is so difficult. It's not so difficult to just have a rough understanding. Realization is difficult. Rough understanding is not difficult. आपको पता चल गया ना? Emptiness means emptiness of independent existence. Now the important question is, what is the fun of knowing this thing called emptiness? What is the use? What is the benefit? The benefit is, although in reality everything has a dependent existence, no independent existence, but our stupid, confused, ignorant mind tends to see things as having independent existence. And the harm that comes from such a perception is when you see something not only beautiful, but 100% beautiful, then क्या होता है फिर? Then you get obsessed with it. Then you develop attachment. Then you get stuck there. It is in this way you develop attachment, negative emotion. Then those person who you don't like, you don't only see this person as bad, but 100% bad. As I said the other day, there's no possible for me to have dialogue. उसके साथ तो बात करना ही नहीं बोलता है ना हम लोग, बार बार बोलता है ना हम लोग. अब इतना गुस्सा हो जाता है कि बोलता है कि इनके साथ तो मैंने बात करना ही नहीं, गर्दन टेढ़ा करके अब चले जाते हैं ना, है ना, है ना. That's the way. But people who have this understanding, then they say, like His Holiness, even with the Chinese leaders, he's saying, let us have negotiation, let us have dialogue. You see, there's nothing that cannot change. So therefore, by understanding this properly, or at least you get some understanding, it will lessen the intensity of your negative emotions. Clear? Okay? Yeah.
Tashidala Geshe. So you problematized, if I've understood it correctly, you problematized sensual pleasures even today and like in the last session as well. So is the problem with pleasure or desire in itself, like the conception of pleasure or desire, or the intensity and excess of it? Like, I'm trying to understand, is the problem in pleasure or desire itself, or is the problem when it goes beyond a certain limit?
Goes beyond a certain level. I don't think Buddhism is saying ice cream mat khao. I don't think Buddhism says that don't get married. ठीक है ना? In fact, actually more properly taught, practiced teachers, they enjoy small things. But they don't get stuck there, that's the difference. On the one hand, we should have this sensitivity or innocence like small children who really enjoys whatever is there. Even if it is a broken toy, that is their world. They enjoy it. But the problem with the children is they get stuck there. ठीक है ना? So don't get stuck there. Getting stuck means then in the small pleasures you get addicted. When you get addicted, you can never come out of it. Once we had a Buddhist Science Mind Life Conference in Dharamsala, and then one of the important topic of discussion at that time was addiction. There was this director, I think, from a very famous institute in Washington, D.C., a lady expert on addiction. And according to her finding, she said that the brain, left in its natural capacity, has the capacity, power to distinguish what is good for your body, what is not good for your body. Not only brain, but other things also. Body has this capacity to protect you. For example, if you inhale a lot of dust, you cough. That means you some foreign elements went into your body, so it's not good. Clean it. The body is saying it. So similarly, the brain also has this capacity to judge what is right and what is wrong. For example, if you never smoked, take just one puff of cigarette, you will cough, because the brain is saying, not good for you, don't do. Don't do. But you insist, you take one puff, two puff, it will keep on coughing for some time. Then after a while, if you keep on pushing, then the brain will stop saying. Then the brain will say, okay, if you want to commit suicide, go ahead. I will not say anything now. Then because the brain is now taking any responsibility, then the other side of the brain, the addicted part of the brain says, I want more, then you get addicted to it, and because of this addiction, the natural brain stops functioning. This is why it is so dangerous to get addicted into anything. Addicted means not just cigarette, addicted to coffee, addicted to tea, addicted to biscuits, addicted to ice creams, all kind of addictions. Very bad for your health, very bad for your brain. So therefore, you can enjoy simple pleasures. It's very good. We are ordinary human beings. It is important to keep the mind happy. Even with these small pleasures, if you are happy, and a happy mind can create miracles, you see. So ऐसा नहीं कि you say I'm a serious practitioner, किसी चीज़ भी अब आनंद नहीं ले रहा है, मुंह लटका के इधर उधर घूम रहा है, कोई फायदा नहीं है. And forgive me to say that some of the sadhus are so angry, clearly showing that they took wrong path. हम लोग डरते हैं साधु से, इसको मत बोलो, इसको मत छेड़ो, साधु जी शार्प देंगे. अरे ऐसे धर्म प्रैक्टिशनर कैसे होता है ना? So unfortunately we are scared of sadhu, we are scared of police who are supposed to protect us, who are supposed to guide us, because they went into the wrong path. है ना? Right? Okay? Yeah.
Tashidala Geshe, just as a continuing was of what you were saying, my question was, what is the importance of taking things lightly in Buddhism, or has it received any attention of not taking things too seriously, or living in a certain sense of joy and like that? Does it have any
depends.
space?
It depends. If it's an important matter, be serious. If it's not so important, take lightly. Important matter में भी lightly है, serious नहीं है, फिर तो आप कहीं पे नहीं पहुँचेगा, है ना? ना इधर ना उधर. So when it is an important issue, be serious. Of course, it depends upon what you mean by the English word serious, because if you are not serious, if you don't concentrate, you are not going to achieve anything. There's a Tibetan phrase, I forgot. Rangolaya Sangha, Lungolaya Sangha Sejore, which is saying something like that, whatever is there, you just give one gold coin. That's not good. You have to see the values, the importance, right? Okay?
Tashidala Geshe, you just answered Sonam last question that how anger is a negative emotion. My question is in regard to parent-children relationship. So sometimes children are stubborn and they don't know their own well-being, and parents treat them angrily or show anger towards them. But that anger is out of love and care towards their children and for the well-being of their children. So, is this any kind of
Yeah, normally we say anger is better than hatred. Hatred means resentment. Deep down you don't like that person. There's a disliking. That is very harmful. That must be completely avoided or reduced or eliminated. Anger, if there's no resentment, then you can display anger sometimes. But I'm not saying it is good to get angry all the time. I would instead use the word toughness than anger, you see. But then of course for such clarity you need a lot of practice. So ordinarily we flare out, but deep down there is love. So there's no problem. Like for example, how many times the parents express their anger, the child express their anger, but deep down there is love, therefore the family remains together. Now ordinarily, those of us who don't know each other, if I get very angry and say very nasty things, and you also do the same thing, we'll stop seeing each other because there's no affection, there's no love. So the desired thing is we should develop that loving, unconditional loving kindness towards everybody. You see, that's very important. And when you are able to do that, then you get angry, flare out, then next time, I do this here. I'm not a practitioner, but based on common sense, common experience, I do it here. I scold my staffs, not all the time, but sometimes. Then after that I say, okay, how are you? Go, let us go for a cup of tea. मैंने क्या लेके जाना? कौन सा खाता खोलना है मैंने? Huh? What is that I'm trying to get by getting angry? To ensure the smooth functioning of this institute to benefit others. Otherwise, I earn my salary, they earn their salary, I live in my own room, they live in their own. Why should I be angry with them? So therefore, but the strange thing, a clear indication that how strongly we are habituated with negative emotions is, let us take the example of two friends who has been a friend for the last 30 years. In English we say hand and glove friend, as we say, a very close friend. But unfortunately this morning you had 5 minutes argument, very angry, verbal exchanges, very angry. Then you decide not to see each other, not to speak to each other. ऐसा होता है कि नहीं होता है? Things like that happen, right? So now look at this fun. You remember this 5 minutes fight, don't remember this 30 years friendship. ये हालत है हमारा. This is our situation. So as a result of studying Dharma, now you should have this capacity, after this 5 minutes fight, you should have this capacity to cling or hug that person, or if there's a need to cry and say, I'm very sorry. Can you do that? If you do that, you are not loser, you are winner. In ordinary worldly terms, they'll say, oh, she must be on the wrong side, she is now begging. Stupid. Because if you do that, your friendship that you maintained during the last 30 years will become even more strong. If you don't do that, you will lose that 30 years of friendship because of 5 minutes horrible fight. What a shock, what a tragedy. है ना? तो गुस्सा होता है, कभी कभी होता है, लेकिन उसके बाद दिल में मत रखो, हाय बोलो, बात करो, क्या खोना है आपने? हाँ? So these are the simple practices, very important practices in your life. Okay?
Hello. Geshe, how do when we study about masters of the old, like relationship between the student-teacher, such as Nalopa and Tiropa, and then there's this phenomena that how do we go on about understanding this phenomena where I've heard stories that the teacher just did a simple action like pointing a finger in the towards the sky, and the student has attained enlightenment suddenly. So like, how do we go on about understanding that phenomenon? I'm totally
when both the teachers and the students are qualified, and also the student has a lot of positive karmic formations, then with a small indication you can get enlightened. That's why the other day I said, if you want to remove your thirst, you need to drink water, not the whole ocean. बोला था ना मैंने, बोल तो दिया था मैंने. हाँ, ज़्यादा शब्द नहीं चाहिए उनको, ठीक है ना? ऐसे होता है, ठीक है?
Geshe, I wanted to ask, is the belief in an intrinsic being completely against the realization of emptiness?
Absolutely, because there's nothing that has intrinsic existence.
So the realization of
No, again, don't we be very careful about the use of this English word. When you use the word intrinsic, if you are talking about something that has independent, absolute existence, then of course this is against realization of shunyata. But if you are talking about the kind of more superficial, inborn nature, then not necessarily. Yeah.
So realization of emptiness cannot be the foundation for realization of God or something as the concept of God.
I'm sorry to say that. Yes.
It can be.
Can be. That's why when we talk about religious harmony, we talk about the similarities. Number one, when we have interfaith conferences, people who come for that faith conferences should not come there with a wish to win or to show that my religion is best. They should simply come there to learn, number one, share the universal messages of brotherhood, sisterhood. That's no problem. But then come there with the understanding that philosophically there are a lot of differences. Differences does not mean you should not respect that person. You should listen to that different view, like God creator is absolute, independent, nobody created it, which is contradicting the Buddhist philosophy. But it may have its many benefits. So respect that. Millions of people got benefited it. Respect that. And then see the pros and cons. Things like that. But philosophically, yes, they are contradictory. Because philosophically contradictory because when, contradictory because when you say everything else is created by the God, then God doesn't need a creator. It is illogical. Philosophically speaking. That's again not saying who is right, who is wrong, but that's the Buddhist way of seeing things.
Geshe Lhakdor. So, I have several questions. My first question is what are the conversion and divergence between mind and brain?
What?
Conversion and divergence between mind and brain.
Convergence and divergence.
And the second question is today we talk about artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So what are the things that artificial cannot do as compared to the mind? What are things that artificial intelligence cannot do comparing to the mind? And also how to establish the rebirth based on a rational thoughts.
Okay, wait. Convergence and divergence of the brain and the mind. We need to be very clear that mind is a physical entity. Sorry, the brain is a physical entity, mind is a non-physical entity. So that is the divergence. Convergence is, even though mind is a non-physical entity, but it has to depend on the physical body, including the brain, especially the mind at its grosser level. When it goes to the very subtle level, then it doesn't have to depend on the brain. So that is the convergence and divergence between the mind and the brain. Okay. Now when I say that when the mind goes to the very subtle level, then it doesn't have to depend on the brain, it goes to the next life. That explains rebirth, the possibilities of coming back again. Now with this rebirth question, I'll give you an example. Tonight when you go to bed and then fall asleep, kharanta mar raha hai, you're sleeping peacefully. At that time you are more or less dead. I'm not saying you're dead. Please get up next morning, okay? So I'm not saying you're dead. You're very much like dead because your eye can't see anything, your nose can't smell anything. है ना? कुछ भी नहीं है. But then what happens? The mind actually becomes more active. You are snoring and sleeping in Dharamsala, but your mind is shopping in Mumbai. होता है कि नहीं है? Mind is playing, recalling, doing something, which shows the possibilities of the mind becoming completely independent. है ना? And then not only that, now these days the existence of rebirth is scientifically, to some extent I would say scientifically proved. There's a big scientific, institution in New York who have been doing this. Many people did research on rebirth. First, some people, I think it was Pilu Moody and others who did a lot of research, first in Sri Lanka and India, thinking that this so-called rebirth is a question of belief. So it should be found in Asia. So they did research in Sri Lanka and India, found many children remembering their rebirth. Then they did this experiment with some Westerners in America and Europe. They're also, to their great surprise, they found many people remembering their death. Now the interesting thing here is, if there's nothing called mind, it is only brain which is functioning, then when you die, brain is a physical body, it's all destroyed, burnt or hidden under the ground, whatever, it is destroyed. Then what is it that is able to remember all these things? Right? So I don't know. Then with your question related to artificial intelligence, I'm not an expert on any of this artificial intelligence, metaverse and so forth, but I do study through my Google Baba and smart TV. These days you can learn anything. Artificial intelligence is also maneuvered by human beings. It's computerized, right? But I don't think it has the capacity to do all kind of activities as we human beings are doing. You see? So that's what I think His Holiness said, not to you, the other day, few days back, to this Indian group. He said, you can't develop, infinite love and compassion, bodhicitta, and then also express all these emotions by your own effort. Artificial intelligence, you see. So that's why very name is artificial. The intelligence, artificial. But it's going to be very destructive and very helpful also, but unfortunately it will go more on the destructive side. So already now articles are coming out, be very careful. There was an article recently which said, the very title, it said, artificial intelligence is more dangerous than nuclear bomb. क्योंकि हमारे हाथ में जो भी है हम लोग गलत इस्तेमाल करते हैं. It's our experience that whatever we are able to get hold of, अलादीन का जो मैजिक लैम्प है ना, उसको रब करके उसका कहानी पता है ना आपको. So like that we have this habit of being mischievous and misuse it, है ना. So we actually speaking, we don't need artificial intelligence. We need to nurture this intelligence that we have within us. Now all these technological things, there are many good things, but I'm really, I'm not completely stupid about these technological things. I try my best to get a little bit updated in everything, because what affects all must be touched, what touches all must be affected by all. But look at the so-called artificial intelligence, all these technological things used by the so-called educated people. And you have made a report and so many things such a way that the ordinary uneducated people can't even go there. They'll get completely lost. So all these are basically for few so-called educated or elite people, So just like as I was saying, Buddhism must make sense in this world, technology also should make sense in this world. Science also should make sense in this world. There's no fun in creating, funny things which in the end would destroy us. So that's my my take.
And Geshe, one last two questions. So what is the Buddhist treatment for the people who are suffering from addictions, any addiction, treatment? Geshe talks about the views about the addiction, what are the treatment? And one last question is how the third generation Tibetan people who are coming from Tibet to India, so how we need to think as an individual, because first generations have fought badly, they have suffered a lot. Second generation, they have fought, and currently they are mostly working in Tibetan civil society or CTAs. The third generation who came from Tibet, today they are suffering because they don't have any homes, some of them. And some people who are born into, they have homes. So they are going through a lot of stages. So how as a third generation Tibetan who came from the Tibet, how we need to think as an individual.
Okay. So addiction, we all have addictions. We are strongly addicted to negative emotions, addicted to anger, addicted to jealousy, addicted to hatred. So therefore, the only way to get rid of addiction is to see the destructive effects of those addictions. For example, if you keep on drinking a lot of tea with a lot of milk, which many of us do, especially Tibetans do. Indians also like sweet tea very much, but they don't drink too much. Chota sa kami pita. Tibetans big cup. You keep on doing it, then you get this chest congestion and all these problems. It's very clear. So like that, you need to know the side effects. Then even after telling that if you are going to commit suicide, what can we do? There are many people who want to commit suicide. So that's the thing. Now with this Tibetan generations that you mentioned, it is, I think, very difficult to make three distinctions. The first generation, second generation, third generation. First generation also came from Tibet. Second generation, you are to some extent right because they are born in India. Third generation who came from Tibet also, now many of them are working in the CTA, many of them. And some of them are holding very high post. So that also is more or less changed. Now nobody else is coming. Yes, those who have already arrived, they have some difficulty, but majority of them join monasteries like any other, so they have no difficulty. Others also join school like you, now you are educated, things like that. So their difficulty is, going away. And now with homes also, Sejong has already declared that is giving home to different settlements. So I don't know where they have reached, but that plan is also there. Yeah. Okay.
So what is the role of numerology in Buddhism? Like it is said, just for an example, when we are practicing few things, like you do it for 21 days or 40 days, the beads of a mala are generally 108. So is there a frequency connection between the practices we do and what is the take of Buddhism on this?
No, neurologically, we need to study human being. When we talk about human being, it is basically a combination of body and mind. The neurological study helps you understand your physiology, including the brain properly. Now, for example, according to classical physics, they mention clearly that as you age, then you suffer from dementia, old age disease, and there's no remedy for that. They used to believe like that. Now with the changed process of study, changed technology, now the modern science, they are talking about neuroplasticity. Meaning that it's not necessary that you suffer from dementia. If you keep on studying, then your brain remains very, very alert. Recently a survey was done, a scientific survey was done in some of the monasteries about dementia and the old people's Alzheimer dementia. And to their great surprise, they found there is hardly none in the Tibetan monasteries, the monastery in which they surveyed. The obvious reason is, few reasons. One reason is they keep on studying. Two, their food habit is not necessarily very good, but at least they don't resort to eating everything, much less. The younger monks also, of course, nowadays, unfortunately, picking up that habit. Otherwise, they mostly depend on the diet that is provided in the monastery. So because of this, hardly none of those problems are there. This is a recent finding, right? So therefore, understanding both from the physiological level and mental level together is, I think, very important. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They should go.
So just like as a cognitive science and a biology student, I wanted to follow up on the discussion Penpa last asked about. So I was just wondering, since you said that there is a dependency between mind and brain, but that is lost in some subtle consequences, especially in the sense of rebirth. So I was just wondering, how does that work out? I mean, logically.
Logically?
I mean, how that interdependency is lost.
No. Here we need to see one thing very clearly. The problem we have today is we wish to measure everything with a physical instrument. So forget about rebirth, anything. The mind that we all talk so much, how do you know there is a thing called mind? How would you measure it? It's non-physical, shapeless, colorless. But any student of science or physics know that there is a thing called energy. So the best way of understanding mind is energy. Like if you look at this line through which the electric current goes, you can see the wire. You don't see the current flowing into it. That doesn't mean that there's no current. If you want to make sure there is current, you touch it. Current hai. So that electric wire is like your body. That current is your mind. Right? And then it is this current, energy, which is able to give this light. So there are many occasions when the mind is also compared to a light. Right? Cognitivity, being able to not only perceive but reflect but also cognize. So therefore it is important to think not only about the physical reality but also the functioning of the energy. It's very, very important because it is basically the energy of the mind which is controlling your life. Now energy, even if you think about the vayu, the wind energy, it is so powerful, All these movements that you are able to do is because of that vayu. And when the vayu goes, when that wind energy goes wrong, I've seen people who are, because of this wrong flow of energy, there are people who are always nobody is pushing them. Right? So there's the power. And the vayu and the mind goes together. Okay? This way. Done? So read. Any more questions?
Geshe,
yeah.
In spirit of discussion, I'm still not convinced with your explanation of distraction as negative emotion, because I do understand that it has negative sides.
Yeah.
But if you can, just share a bit.
Distraction is in Hindi. It's something like khona, kho jana, hai na?
Kho jana. Sometimes it can be good also, no?
So that is a different explanation. One is कुछ प्राप्त करने के लिए कुछ खोना चाहिए हम लोग बोलता है ना. So that I think is a little bit different. Distraction is you are distracted to something else which should not be your focus. Kho jana is having no grasping, that you let things go. So I think there are different. Anyway, your question.
So yeah, that's what I mean. Just I wanted to
Okay.
get some more insight.
Yeah. Okay. So today we'll spend this session just question answer. Any other questions? Yeah. So now not much time is left. Simsar what you do? Oh, re. Chutu chukchi. Chutu chega chukchi larwa. Oh, re. Okay, we have time. Okay, then we read the text. Yeah. Te cover. Mic unko do. Go the recording chivo.
ค
Geshe Lhakdor, some of our fellows are really interested in knowing about the wheel of life. So can you please explain them what is in the wheel of life? Like
wheel of life, I think we'll study together by seeing that picture. Okay. Either we'll make it available on a screen here, something like that. Okay. Actually, there is a stanza which talks about that. So at that time, I think we'll do it.
Sir, in the last class, you talked about the law of nature. So in Western philosophy, especially certain Western political philosophies, the law of nature has been, the description of the law of nature has been used to justify a different kind of inequalities. So I want to know if there is any conception of law of nature in Buddhist philosophy, and how do it describe the law of nature? Look at the relationship of law of nature.
Yeah, to some extent we can say it is law of nature that there are, inequalities or differences. But then I think it is also law of nature that we can bridge that gap and empower others. For example, forget about the inequality between human beings and animals. This very early morning I was watching a story, it's a long story, I forget it. So there's this story of, I can summarize it. There's this story of a dog, cat, cow, and a buffet, ox, and what was the other? They were pig. 5 of them. They complain about the mistreatment that they suffered in the hand of human beings. Everyone tells the story. The dog tells the story. You know what is the problem. Cow tells the story. Mera sara doodh le jata hai, phir mujhe kuch nahi deta hai. And things like. And then bakri, the goat. Things like that. So they all decide. Okay, let us go to the nature. Live there freely. Then they all join together and go. And then they meet another animal who says, "Where are you going? You seem to be domestic animals." They said, "Yes, we are, but we are frustrated with the mistreatment by human beings. We are very fed up with this so-called human beings. They've captured all our land, built so-called houses, skyscrapers, They also mistreating us, taking advantage of us. And so therefore we now want to get this freedom." They said, no, you are wrong. Because you already lived with human beings. You have to some extent imbibed all the qualities of human beings, at least the sugandha, human smell. Now if you come to live out into the wild nature, it is questionable whether you will be able to survive even one day. Then to prove this point, that animal said, "Let us go by the side of the pool, river." And then they immediately see one crocodile coming up and catching some other animal and devouring it right in front of their eyes. So they got so frightened, they all decided to come back, saying that at least we get food, at least we are looked after to some extent. So this is to some extent a kind of law of nature. But this does not mean to say that we cannot, make it better. Whether you call it change or law of nature, it is a flow. If you use that flow in the right way, you can change it. That flow gives you the opportunity to change. Now when we talk about impermanence, we talk about death, but impermanence is not just death. Impermanence or change actually means flexibility. So if you use that flexibility for good, you become enlightened, you become better, you see, right? If you misuse it, then you go to hell. So it's like that, yeah. So we need to understand the law of nature and then improve it, yeah. Yeah.
Geshe Lhakdor, any one quick question. Like since during the Buddha's period, so the Buddha mother initially requested to join the Sangha member, right? But Buddha denied it. So like through taking this incidents, like since Buddha is the omniscient and say those
which one? What was the question?
During the Buddha's period, Buddha's mother requested to join a Sangha member.
Okay.
But initially the Buddha denied due to some certain circumstances.
Yeah.
But some, since Buddha is the omniscient mind, there is no contradiction. But some feminists, they took this incident in unwise ways.
Yes.
So how as a as an individual, so we can like share them some kind of information which is not clear to them?
No, this is a complex question, because as I mentioned on the first session, any religion, when it comes into existence, it has to exist in that living culture, living tradition. You cannot quickly go against it. Now, for example, here also we are talking about removing the afflictive emotions and things like, which is very useful, but how many of us are going to do it? उसी में जीना पड़ता है आपको. So that's why the Buddha, even Buddha, enlightened whatever, For example, there is one very beautiful line in one sutra where the Buddha says, "You people are arguing with me. I am not arguing with you. I accept what you accept also. I am not crazy." You see? He had to say this because some of his teachings were very profound, therefore people were mesmerized, they could not understand. What are you saying? Are you insane? Kind of question. Then the Buddha said, no, sit down, look, think carefully, then you will realize that I am not saying something crazy. I am only saying something which you are not attuned to right now, but if you pay a little bit more attention, you will understand it. So my answer will be, yes, there may be certain things that is to conform with the prevalent culture, right? But then gradually it looks like, for example, if you read the Kala Chakra, study the Kala Chakra, then after receiving the Kala Chakra initiation, there are certain rules that you have to practice, observe. So in that there is one line which says, if you defame the women, it is an infraction. It is a violation of the law. But there is no such sentence against men. If you defame a man, it is a violation of the practice. He didn't say that. But in the specific to the women here, this line, I think that clearly shows that there were some cultural, imbalances, and he wanted to set it right. Right? That's one thing. Then another thing, if you read many of these texts, it is also a little bit mentioned here, not so much, but in Ratnavali, Shantideva's Bodhicharita, there's a lot of things said against women. Women are faulty, they are filthy things, like that. Then many people think, especially feminists, they think, oh, Buddha is against, a little bit looking down upon women. But in this context, you need to know that most of these teachings were given to the monks to ensure, maintain their celibacy. They have to highlight the faults of not just women, anything. And women is one of the greatest source of distraction. Unlike any other object, you will develop more attachment to a woman than your Mercedes car. So in order to safeguard their practice, then, for example, there is one line which summarizes everything wonderfully by saying the fact that this is primarily taught to the monks is, he talks about all these shortcomings of women, then he summarizes by saying that the same kind of fault that I mentioned against women is also found with you. So if you don't realize your own fault, how can you find the fault of other people? So that makes everything equal. So you need to understand everything in its context. Okay? Okay, yeah.
Ambedkar in a book says that my hateness comes from my love towards humanity. Ambedkar says that my hateness comes from my love towards humanity. So is hating
my ignorance comes from my
hateness. My hateness comes from my love.
Acha.
So do you think that hating certain concepts, such as, for example, patriarchy, racism, or ableism, is a bad thing? And second thing is that His Holiness would have thought about not having the religious power over political power when he decided not to involve in politics.
Yeah.
Yet we are having religious monks elected to the parliament.
Yeah.
So as a monk, as a great monk, do you think that is that against what His Holiness would have thought about, or is it in line with what His Holiness have thought about?
Not against. Like, for example, this text itself, this teaching to the king itself, is to make the king run his government or administration properly, right? So if you have the proper motivation, proper contact, then like His Holiness himself has been the head for so many years and brought so much upliftment, so much progress, so much harmony. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? So similarly, the other monks also act in that way. It will be a great boon to reconcile those differences. But unfortunately, we can't expect everybody to do the same thing. So, but then from the side of the monk himself or nun herself, whatever, I think they should avoid entering into politics. That's my personal feeling. Now, why we Tibetan Parliament has all these monks, that is a long story. Because in the very beginning, when we came into exile, our foremost concern was how to safeguard our religious practices. So therefore, empowering the monks at that time was important, you see. Now, gradually, I think time has come so that we don't have any of this, representatives, from different religious traditions in the form of monks. We have representations from all the provinces, so they should represent everything. So we don't need that, but it is a very difficult thing to undo. Not easy. We have been discussing this for a long time. Yeah.
And the first question about hateness towards any concepts.
Hateness
towards concepts, which are destructive concepts such as patriarchy, racism.
If you read this Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life, there are lines which really looks like you are very angry with the negative emotions, But that's a kind of anger, not hatred. Because hatred in any field is not the solution. Because hatred, look at this, this is very interesting. Look at the nature of these negative emotions. The first thing that the negative emotions does is make you blind. Okay? Then these negative emotions, they are narrow-minded. They don't have a solid foundation. For example, let me give you some example. For example, if you love somebody, a man or woman, the ordinary declaration is, I love him so much, I love her so much, that I cannot live without him or without her. That is supposed to be a big declaration. But if you look carefully how stupid it is saying, I am for just one person. Whereas in Buddhism we are saying we should be for everybody. Therefore we are encouraged to develop this unconditional love for everybody. Here you are saying, I love only this person. So it's narrow-minded. Then similarly, when you get angry, you are not able to see all the other causes and conditions that provoked that situation. And you are very good in pinpointing, he is the one. यही है सब करने वाला. He is the one who did everything. Not knowing that there are many other causes and conditions that made this person angry and do all those stupid things. Right? So therefore it's very narrow-minded. You want to just find one target and shoot it. That's what the army, the misguided armies are doing. Shoot one target. Whereas what we need, in order to solve any problem, what we need to do is develop a holistic picture and bring together all the causes, conditions, factors that are responsible, And in that, if you think like that, you are also responsible. Why you are becoming a target today? Because of many of your wrongdoings, because of your past karma, whatever, So if we take into consideration all the causes and conditions, then in order to solve any problem, you need to solve all those causes and conditions, not just one. Okay? So therefore, as I said the other day, hate the sin, not the sinner. Yeah. Okay.
Geshe Lhakdor, my question is, what is the Buddhist view on healing and rage and justice for survivors of sexual misconduct?
Healing?
Healing, I mean basically,
Yeah.
how do survivors of sexual misconduct seek healing and justice? Because their bodies were violated and they feel hatred and rage towards, the ones who did this to them. Is that a negative emotion when this kind of injustice was perpetrated upon them? I would just like to understand more about that. Thank you.
So I would say first and foremost thing is prevention is better than cure. This is something we forget all the time. We don't think properly, don't plan properly, don't improve our way of life, and then we become vulnerable in many cases, not necessarily with everybody, in many cases. Okay? So put off that spark. Extinguish that spark before it becomes a conflagration. That's the most important thing in general, right? And then, unfortunately, whatever be the case, if such mistreatment has happened, then it is not the solution to just keep on thinking about it. You should always have this courage to move forward, because you are more than the body. You are much more than the body. In India also now we have many wonderful examples of those people who had this tijab फेंक करके पूरा चेहरा खत्म कर दिया, लेकिन still they are coming up with many important projects. That's the way. That's the way. Because you need to take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, who will take care of you? You see? So in whatever be the situation, we should not never lose our courage. And once you develop that kind of inner strength, healing will start by itself. Healing will take place. Not only in those people, in the case of those people who receive that mistreatment, even in our ordinary sicknesses. It is now scientifically proved, people who have a very healthy mind, the healing is much quicker. But people who are angry and have hatred and wish to revenge, things like that, then the healing is very difficult, very slow. Right? Okay? Yeah.
My second question was basically that what if they have hatred and anger towards the perpetrator, the person?
Yeah, that hatred and anger will not harm that person, but it will harm herself. For example, if I think about the mistreatment of the Tibetans in Tibet by the Chinese leaders, and now I have this advantage of having all of you together to hopefully support me, okay, then I get very upset and angry and bang the table, say all the nasty things about the mistreatment of the Chinese, get very angry here. You also join me, get very angry here. Geshe Lhakdor, we are all with you. You also bang that table and so forth. So we are crazy here now. We are not happy. We are very crazy here. How that is going to solve the Tibetan problem? We are very angry here. The Chinese leaders must be sipping a nice cup of coffee and watching a movie and enjoying. Don't even know what we are doing here. So similarly, in that case also, if you are angry, headed, it is consuming you, destroying you, not the other person. That's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, this is very, very useful. He said, you know, when many of these Tibetans come from Tibet and then come to see His Holiness, then the first thing they do is cry. Here is now an opportunity to share all my sadness, feeling, you know, all those things. Then His Holiness try to console them, and also not only talking but also, you know, sending them to monasteries, schools, whatever he is able to do, he does that. So he said, I do my best to do anything that is possible. Then after that, I don't worry. I go to bed very peacefully and I sleep very peacefully. Now the doctors say my blood pressure is like baby's blood pressure. That bothers the enemy. See, this is the thing. That bothers enemy. Now instead, if His Holiness mobilizes all the wrong things, get angry and make fairy speech, you know, against the Chinese wrongdoings, never talk about negotiation, never talk about dialogue and things like that, some of the young-blooded, you know, youths might be very excited. But that's not going to solve the problem, you see. Right? So something like that, yeah.
Namaste, sir. Actually, I have question around expectations. So let's suppose we know a person for 3 months, and let's suppose we know a person for over an year.
Yeah.
Or let's say 10 years.
Yeah.
See, so we expect something, and side by side we develop compassion for that person.
Yeah.
But when that person do not act a certain way, we get disappointed, right? We develop anger, jealousy. So what's the fun of developing compassion side by side?
That's why I'm saying we are stupid. Not only this person is disappointing you, how many times you disappointed yourself?
Yes, yes.
How many times you did not do what you should be doing? So don't get surprised when other people don't do things which you want. You see? So this is like lack of understanding. And you should know that that other person is not tailored for you. That other person has his life, her life. Give her freedom. Give her respect. Then after all this, you know, if things doesn't work, you have every option to say namaste, bye-bye. Wherever you think it's good, go. No enmity. No, you know, it's like our meeting. We know this is a short meeting, so you are very kind to me, smiling at me, looking at me. I also try to be kind. Okay. Then you go after a few days, I say namaste, bye-bye. You know, that's it. Life is like that, you see. Okay. First you need to see how much you are doing for yourself. When आप खुद को बार बार धोखा दे रहे हैं, दूसरे लोग जो आपको धोखा देने से फिर आप चिढ़ जाते हैं. हाँ, इधर ये सुन लो, 1-2 में आपको पढ़ूंगा. जिंदगी गुजर गई सबको खुश करने में. जिंदगी गुजर गए, हाँ बोलो ठीक है, अच्छा है. जिंदगी गुजर गई सबको खुश करने में, जो खुश हुए वो अपने नहीं थे, जो अपने थे वो कभी खुश नहीं हुए. ऐसे होता है जिंदगी. हाँ, अच्छा है ना. और डर के बारे में हम लोग, कई लोग पूछता है ना, डर होता है, बहुत डर क्यों होता है हम लोग, वाई डू वी डेवलप फियर. डर इसलिए होता है क्योंकि हमारे पास अटैचमेंट है, मोह है. मोह खत्म होते ही खोने का डर भी निकल जाता है, चाहे दौलत हो, वस्तु हो, रिश्ता हो या जिंदगी. वी आर स्केयर्ड ऑफ डेथ बिकॉज ऑफ अटैचमेंट, राइट. तो ठीक है ना. सो इसलिए पहाड़ों पर बैठकर तप करना सरल है, पहाड़ों पर बैठकर तप करना सरल है, लेकिन परिवार में सबके बीच रहकर धीरज बनाए रखना कठिन है, और यही तप है. Okay, any questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Geshe-la, my question is in regard to Yogeshwar's question about mind wandering and distraction. So sometimes we are in a state of panic and we try to distract or divert our mind to something else. We try to think something good. So like in that sense, can this kind of distraction can be considered as good? And
not necessarily good, but distraction happens. It happens. But the more desired thing is, when you get fear or panic, you should think from where this panic is coming and what is the use. For example, if Hawai Jahaj mein ud raha hai, you are flying in the aeroplane, suddenly there is a turbulence, you panic, you have fear. फिर हम लोग क्या करते हैं? We develop fear and then कुर्सी को पकड़ते हैं हम लोग. हाँ, हवाई जहाज में बैठा है, टर्बुलेंस हो रहा है, कुर्सी पकड़ने से कोई फायदा होगा? हाँ, तो इसलिए क्या फायदा है? No use there. Now you are, it's almost like survival or death question, you see. So instead that relax, take a deep breath, and I do that, take a deep breath, and it really relaxes you, like that. So fear ka wajah dhundo. There are certain panics, certain fears which is important to avoid. There are certain fears and panics which you need to face. So it depends on the situation. Yeah.
Geshe-la, a lot about distraction, but I just want to ask you that kindly can you suggest some readings to deepen our understanding of non-violence?
Non-violence, Gandhi ji ka likha hua bahut hai. There are many write-ups by Gandhi, and there is one book called Ahimsa, which has compilations from all the leading thinkers on non-violence. That book is called Ahimsa. It's a very old book I have, and then there are also collections of write-ups. There's one of my friend, a professor, who she is now teaching some university somewhere. She also compiled a book which is on non-violence by Gandhi and His Holiness. So there are many books. Okay. Okay, done. Okay, then we read few verses. We finished verse number 8 yesterday, right? Now the next, he is giving a teaching which is useful and relevant to householders, lay people. Okay? First is the importance of respecting parents, and then second is observing the practice of the 7 branch vows. Verse number 9. Any family, with these translations I don't agree all the time, okay? He uses the word family, but in the Tibetan text there is no word family. It says anybody. It says anybody who respects father and mother will be attended by Brahma and religious teachers. Also the word attended I don't like very much. So it is basically saying anybody who respects father and mother can be treated as having the guidance of the Brahmins and the guidance of religious teachers. Its members will be renowned for venerating them and later enter into the higher states. So those of us who live with family, there should be harmony among the family, and especially there should be respect to the elderly people. Now here, we are now, there's always some problem, the generation gap as we call it. You think you are more intelligent than the parents. The parents think they have more experience than you. So both are instructing each other, you see, and trying to prove who is right, who is wrong. So again, there should be some negotiation and dialogue. And it's true that parents have a lot of experiences because of their age. And that experience itself is knowledge, education. So learn from that, respect that. And if there is a difference of opinion, then explain it if it is necessary. Don't argue all the time, because if you argue more and more, situation become more and more worse. Human beings have a tendency not to keep on listening to all the, dictates. So therefore, share it politely if you have anything to share. Otherwise, it's very important to listen to them. You may be much more educated, especially academically, but that doesn't mean the parents are useless. Imagine how they looked after you when you are just helpless, crying baby, you see, including cleaning your nose, everything, really. So it's shameful if you completely forget them. It is happening in the society today. We are becoming like the birds. घोंसला बना के अंडा देकर फिर उड़ जाता है ना, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, है ना. फिर अंडा भी फिर थोड़ा निकल के पंख निकल गया तो फिर पेरेंट्स छोड़ के चला जाता है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, है ना. It's very, very important, because those people, including your parents, who have been so kind, who have been so loving to you, now if you repay back in the opposite way, there's a very, very powerful sin. If you say something nasty to me, I may feel bad, but I will not feel very sad. But if the same thing is said by somebody who I have loved and nurtured and taken care of for 20-30 years, naturally I feel sad. मैंने इसके लिए इतना किया, फिर भी ये कर रहा है, फिर मैं रोना लगे, बाहर जाके दरवाजा बंद करके रोना शुरू हो जाएगा, That's a human thing. Right? So therefore it is very, very important, even if you are not able to do much, at least don't disgrace them, don't make them feel sad. So those who respect their parents is like having the Brahmins, having the teachers. Means because if you directly help your parents with respect, then you are repaying their kindness. And it is because of this, the Brahmins, who is supposed to be the highest of all the celestial deities, then it is equal to your respecting the Brahmins also, wholeheartedly, because that is what these celestial beings want, right? Respecting elders. So indirectly, directly you are helping respecting your parents, indirectly you are also respecting the higher beings, including the Brahmins. And similarly, when you serve and respect your parents, it's also like living in, accompany with your teachers, because your parents are your teachers. They have taught you so many things. They are actually, that's why we repeatedly say that your mother is the first teacher, the most important teacher, even to this day, especially when you are young. The most important lessons you learn from your parents, especially from your mother, right? So if you are respecting your parents, it is equal to respecting the teachers. Okay, that's the meaning. And those who do this, those groups of people who do this, as I said, you are repaying the kindness, and you will be treated as somebody who has really good conduct. Therefore, your name will automatically be recognized. You will become famous. You see, this is the thing. The stupid thing is that we want to become famous by doing all the wrong things. Business may be shortcut. Dhokhedari, deceiving people, cheating people, and then earning money, then you want to become famous. Never. Instead, if you lead a real human way of life with compassion, with love, and especially to your teachers, people are still deep down, people are इंसानियत अभी तक जिंदा है बोलता है ना हम लोग. Still deep down there is humanity. So you will recognize, oh, I wish I can do like this. You see? So your name and fame will also be there. That's the meaning. And then because of this, in the future lives also, you will have a good rebirth, naturally. Its remembrance will be renowned for venerating them and later enter the higher states. Okay. Next is observing the 8 branch vows. Even if you are a lay person, if you are able to observe these vows occasionally, it will be very good. When one eschews harm, thievery, sexual intercourse, falsehood, liquor, the desire for untimely food, delight in a high seat, song, dance, various forms of jewelry. And next verse also I read. And takes on these 8 precepts in emulation of the Arhat's moral practice, that is posada, which bestows on both men and women. In the case of the monks, they do it after every 15 days in a month to purify all the wrongdoings. That is posada, which bestows on both men and women the appealing body of a desire realm deity. So that means on certain occasions, if you take these 8 precepts, the 8 precepts are not taking or killing others, not stealing. Now stealing, what do you mean by stealing? Stealing is not only going, stealthily and taking something from others. Stealing is taking those things which is not given to you. But it may be stealing, it may be robbing, it may be hiring a pen, nice pen from somebody, and then not returning it back. It may be you are finding a lost thing, thinking that nobody will own it, you keep it. Even that is not good. ठीक है ना? So taking what is not given is called stealing. Okay, stealing. And the negative consequence for such activities is if you in this life kill or shorten life of other people, next life your life will be short. You will be killed. हाँ, जैसे को क्या बोलते हैं, जैसे को तैसा बोलते हैं क्या, एक हिंदी है ना. हाँ. And then stealing also. If you in this life if you steal, next life people will steal your things. There are people who always lose their things. है ना? That is the consequence. Then thievery, sexual intercourse I already explained. Having sex with those who is not your partner, or having sex in the wrong parts, wrong time, things like that. Okay? So at least you abstain from that at least for one day. So what he's saying is many of these things you will not be able to taste the fruit unless you practice it. So it's basically saying even if you practice this for one day, you will see the benefit. That's why I've been telling people that we talk about mindfulness, meditation and so forth. So I'm telling people that you do 5 minutes meditation in the morning, one day, then you will see the difference. Kitna shanti hai bolta hai na. Normally, the problem with the modern world, not only modern world, in ancient times also, the problem with people is we don't know how to live with others and also don't know how to live alone. Ek to hona chahiye na. Living with others means living with understanding, living with harmony, living with compassion. If you are not able to do this, then at least live alone. वो भी नहीं हो रहा है. COVID-19 के समय में हम लोग ने देखा था. We have seen clearly during the COVID-19 experience, we are not able to live alone. And many people commit suicide, you see. So that's the problem. है ना? So therefore, thievery, sexual intercourse, falsehood, telling lie, in this life, if you tell lie, next life you will be cheated. Husband will cheat you, wife will cheat you, friends will cheat you. बाजार में तो होता ही है cheating, है ना? Okay. Then, so cheating means telling something wrong knowingly. So these four practices are basically the branch of morality. Then next is giving up intoxicant drinks. This is a part of your practice of carefulness. And then liquor, the desire for untimely food. Untimely food means from dawn until lunch. From dawn until lunch, this is time for food, and after lunch until next dawn, you can drink something to quench your thirst, but you are not supposed to eat any solid food. Okay? And even otherwise, in our ordinary life also, many of the sicknesses, illnesses that we get is not because of shortage of food, but because of eating too much. This is important for you. We all talk about getting good education, doing dharma practice, but if your health is not good, what are you going to do? Nothing. You can't do anything. Our health hamara dekho. We are so prone to taking junk food. You know the meaning of junk food? What is it? Huh? Huh? What is the meaning of junk food? Huh? No. नमूना दिखाओ, नहीं बोला मैंने. Meaning of junk food. Huh?
Which is empty of any good thing.
Junk food primarily means those packaged food which has a lot of salt and a lot of sugar. That's called junk food. Now you should see the intake of sugar. See the intake of salt. You see? So you need to reduce this as much as possible. Go to natural food. Live like birds if possible. Junk food खाता है birds ज़्यादा नहीं. Because of this healthy food, I have not seen any birds wearing eyeglasses. Things like that, you see. है ना? The human beings, because of greed, we need so much, you know. Amazing. So food, you should be really, really careful, very, very careful. You should find out whether you are overweight, you have any other problems, and if you find any other illness or sickness, again here, prevention is better than cure. You should really take good care of your health. If your health is good, even if you don't have very good education, it's okay. If your health is not good, then you can't do anything. So nowadays there are so many ways of checking whether your health is good or bad. But the most important thing is to make sure that you don't have to eat a lot of medicine. Without taking medicine, try to heal as much as possible. Of course, if you get very serious, then don't be stubborn, go to hospital, otherwise you will die. But in general, take, do some exercises, some yogas, and then eat less. Eat less. It will really keep you very, very happy. I try to eat less. I feel very happy. Overeating से कुछ नहीं होता है, ठीक है ना? Okay. Untimely food. Delight in high seat. Delight at least on that day. Don't sit on high throne, high bed, because that might boost your arrogance. So that's why the Buddhist teachers, when they give a proper teaching, before they sit on the throne, they'll do prostration to the holy sacred statues and scriptures, and then before ascending on the throne, they will snap their finger. Then they sit on the throne. Now when I snapped the finger, did you hear the sound? How long did the sound last? Just one moment. So like that, we are here just for one moment. There's no reason for you to get arrogant by being able to sit on a higher throne. Normally you get very arrogant when some people are listening to you and you are sitting on a slightly higher throne. So you need to practice on those occasions when there is a likelihood of developing negative emotions. Otherwise, ordinarily everybody looks a good practitioner. Henna? So it's important. Then also, have you seen the monks debating in the courtyard? Have you seen them? Yeah. You haven't seen anybody debating? Oh, same. So you watch that. Then you have seen I'll demonstrate this. So when let us say you are the respondent, I am the one who asked the question. So what I do is, you have a rosary? Tinga you tinga. Tinga chiyarda. Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, like this. So you are the answerer, you respondent. So when I ask the question, I do like this. I take this rosary, okay, then I do take this like this up, this down, then I say, Chitarchoji. That means the topic is suchness, the Chitarchoji, and the topic of our discussion is emptiness. So now you look at the gesture. This ring of rose symbolizes samsara, cycle of existence. The purpose of my study and practice is to, this hand will go down like this. The purpose of my study is to block the gate to the hell and bring all suffering sentient beings up towards nirvana. That's the gesture. And then you clap your hand. And when you clap the hand, like the snapping of the finger, when you clap the hand, it produces a sound. The sound does not last long. That symbolizes impermanence. And also the sound is produced by clapping two hands, not just by one hand. That means interdependent origination. Everything comes into being by depending on multiplicity of causes and conditions. Right? Like that. So this is, then there are different texts. Some texts say that when you debate, you should be very serious. As we already discussed the word serious. Should be very serious, because here you are trying to cultivate shunyata and remove ignorance. So you cannot be sitting there laughing, not like that. Be serious. You are banishing the enemy ignorance. So be serious. Come on. That's the meaning of emptiness. And some others say, you are practicing Buddhism, which is rooted in compassion. And that should be reflected on your face. What's the meaning of emptiness? Your face should be like a blossoming of a lotus flower. So these are different techniques, same purpose. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Sitting on high throne and song and dance. Song and dance is an act of carelessness ordinarily. People who engage in very serious practice, then this is a symbol of carelessness. Otherwise we are not saying don't sing, don't dance. Here in the library also I started I started dance and singing club because people need exercise. People also need to preserve culture in different ways. So that's different. But when you are very serious in your practice, then all these distractions that we already discussed, like singing and dancing. Okay, you're not sure when you are going to die. Still you are singing, still you are dancing. So with this kind of attitude, okay, that does not mean that you should feel sad and unhappy, things like that. Become serious, yeah. Song, dance, and various forms of jewelry. At least on that day, don't put too many of this jewelry, because especially these days, if you put on so many of jewelries, it's really inviting thieves. barber. Occasionally we see in Delhi and other places this, what do you call it, chain snatching. Henna barber, chain snatching. So like that. So therefore, in your, even if you are not a monk, lay person, but still you should not, you know, what should I say? You should not display too much. That is inviting problem. So be careful what you do, how you express yourself, things like that. So and take on these 8 precepts in emulation of the. This is following the examples of moral practices done by arhats before. That is posada. So posada basically means doing this observance of the 8 precepts. What you are doing is you are strengthening the positive practices and purifying the negative deeds. That's called posada, which bestows on both men and women the appealing body of a desire realm. So that the result will be, you will be born in the form of a celestial being in the desire realm. If you want a very appealing body, practice this, you will be born in the celestial realm with very good body. That's what he's saying. Okay. Now next he is again talking a little bit about the importance of carefulness. And first thing he is saying is, with carefulness you should always guard your mind. Always protect your mind. View as enemies greed, cunning and deceit, attachment, idleness, haughtiness, lust and hatred, conceit from greatness of family, physical appearance, learning, health and authority. You see, you get puffed up when you have these things. So therefore, the first thing that you should see as enemy, here he says greed, but actually in the text it doesn't say greed. It says miserliness, stinginess. उसको क्या बोलते हैं हिंदी में? मुट्ठी बंद, मुट्ठी बंद, something like that. Muthi band. So stinginess. Stinginess means you have a lot of attachment to your belongings and you are not able to give anything. We discussed this a little bit earlier also. So start practicing giving a little bit. Can you do that? There was one Tibetan teacher who later became very famous, but in the beginning he was also very stingy like us. And then he started practicing, he realized that I'm a very stingy person. So I should practice. And then, but still he was not ready to give anything to other person. Then he said, okay, at least I'll take something in my right hand and give it to my left hand. Then left hand to the right hand. So in this way he did this mental exercise of giving, and later on he became a very great teacher. You see. Now how much you are able to give, you know, depends upon how much you care about other people. है ना? तो थोड़ा कुछ देना शुरू करो, है ना? It's important, very important. In India, there are many rich people. How much generosity they are practicing? I'm not saying it's not there, but this kind of culture, we have such a good culture, so there should be many more rich people coming out and doing many socially benefiting activities. In the West, बहुत सारा है ना, there are many philanthropic, you know, charity organizations who are really working amazingly. So like that we should also have, depending upon your capacity. It's important. It is important. Because at the end of the day, you will be happy if you are able to benefit 2 people. or at least 1%, especially in terms of education. सिर्फ खाने के लिए नहीं, सिर्फ पैसा नहीं देना, because then they will misuse it, they'll drink it, you know. Do something to improve the education system, you know. So giving. So giving means giving wealth, giving fearlessness. If somebody is fear, you remove the fear, you are giving fearlessness. And the most important thing is giving education. So therefore teaching is said to be one of the best gifts, giving education, which you can all do. Okay. And then cunningness and deceit. Cunningness and deceit. Cunningness means even if you don't have any knowledge or quality, you pretend that you have and then cheat other people. That's cunningness. Deceitfulness means you hide your fault, and through that way you deceive others, you cheat others. Okay? Then attachment, you know this very well. हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना लोभ, लोभ बोलते हैं. Attachment here, हिंदी बोल लोभ, which is having no contentment. Then laziness. Idleness means laziness. If you are lazy, you won't get much education, you will not be able to practice much. Okay? So don't be too lazy. Laziness means, number one, not doing things. Number second, laziness means postponing your practice. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year. That's also laziness. Third kind of laziness is, I will do it, but first I want to watch this movie. So in this way, you keep on again postponing. So attachment to inferior things, because of your attachment and obsession with inferior things, you don't manage to do the good thing. That's also laziness. Fourth kind of laziness is disparaging yourself. This is something that I should do, but I don't have the capacity, I don't have the intelligence. You discourage yourself. ये कभी नहीं होना चाहिए. If you start doing, you will be surprised to see how much you can achieve. है ना? Rolling stone gathers no moss बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. ऐसे बैठ के कुछ होने वाला है, फिर जंग लग जाएगा आपको. It's rolling stone which doesn't get that moss. So human life also, we need to do exercise, walk and do things, then you grow up. Okay? Oh, time is over, right? Okay, finish this one. Then after that is haughtiness. That is pretending that you have those qualities which you don't have. So it's kind of arrogance. And last here refers to especially the kind of attachment that dissolves in the desire realm, that is produced in the desire realm. And especially here attachment, or last refers to attachment to one's body and one's place and one's enjoyments. And such kind of attachment, or last, I don't like last, but attachment actually, yeah. Which actually already explained earlier, but this is slightly different. Okay. And then next is hatred, we already discussed. And then next is conceit. Conceit comes because of your family background. Conceit comes, for example, if you belong to a higher family, and then you tend to look down upon others and see yourself as something superior. And similarly, if you have a good physical form, or if you have more learning, more knowledge, or your youthfulness, or you have some power and control. So with all these things, you develop these 9 kinds of negative emotions. Okay? So that's it. Stop here.